what made you start the brand? What did you have in your, because it is sort of like your creation, right? So what was that inspiration started, and introduce us to Smithers.
Yeah, so Smithers it's a men's swimwear label. So for me, interesting. I used to live in the outback. I used to live in, regional, remote New South Wales, which is, if you picture it, Sydney's on the coast. Where I used to live was like a 7-hour drive west, right into the middle of Australia. So it was a town of 5,000 people. I finished school out there and I worked in the mines for a while. So a huge contrast to where I am now. So I live in Bondi Beach, and I had a long and winding journey to get here to Bondi, but I think one thing that I said to myself was, now that I'm here, there's no turning back. I really want to ground myself to the ocean, and the beaches here. We're so spoiled in Australia, but it's absolutely my happy place. That's something so important to me. So I decided, well, what's something that I can do that's really going to connect me to the water here, and it is a bit of a family involvement. So my mum was a fashion designer way back when. So, she has a bit of involvement as well. And my sister was actually a professional swimmer. So she swam at the Paralympics in Athens. So it's sort of swimming through the family veins, if you like. And I just thought,
Like the
well, you know
pun.
what? I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to work with fabrics and textures and colors and styles and cuts and patterns, which is completely different to what I was doing at the time, which was working in finance. So from the mines, from copper mines to finance to swimwear is quite extraordinary. But I haven't looked back. This is something that I'm so in love with, and I'm so proud of. And I think it just keeps evolving into something that sometimes you have to pinch yourself. But I think, for me, it was really that raw connection to staying to the ocean. It's my happy place. And, Bondi is definitely home for me now.
I mean, that's I think one of those inspiring real stories, right? Because and I think this is a really big part of maybe something you missed in my earlier question. Because yes, it's perseverance, but it sounds like you've got a deeper reason to do what you do, and I think that's also a big part of giving you that perseverance. Would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think there's probably more reasons than just a financial thing, or, trying to have these gains and these wins and sales and the entrepreneurial side of things. It's very much a lifestyle. It's a family thing now as well, which again, it's something else to keep you fueling and keep you going. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So I asked you this before we started recording, and then we realized that this is actually a great bit of conversation to have on the podcast. So let's talk about it. So tell us what your big goals and focuses are right now.
Yeah, look, I think particularly for Smithers, and everybody with an online store right now, I think we realize that there's people spending more time on their phones. They're spending time online. They're shopping. They're looking around, whether they have money to spend or not, or they're not prepared to do that. People are looking. People are interested. People are shopping around, window shopping. So the key for me right now, my number one goal or my focus now is to make sure that we have content that is fresh, content that is exciting, entertaining, informative, but across many different levels and variations. So if it's imagery, if it's video, if it's social media content, if it's blogging, it's kind of having a presence in multiple different platforms and places that people can pick up on. So I think it's very much about that right now.
And I'd like to really jump into that a little bit more. So why content specifically? What is I mean, just for people listening in thinking, huh, that sounds interesting. I haven't thought about content as much as Jake seems to be. What's the motivation behind that?
I think when times are tough, or when, like I said, when before I sort of touched on, when you kind of have not much to work with, there's sort of not much happening. It gives you time to think. It gives you time to be creative. It gives you these opportunities, and I have a lot of time at the moment. I mean, it's like you said, it's 10 o'clock here now, and you sort of switch as an entrepreneur. So I think I do some of my best work when I have those nights when I'm waking up in the middle of it, and I think, well, you know what, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to start working on this. And I think content for me allows me to be creative. So yes, I've just created a recent collection of swimwear, but I think it's about extending upon that creativity of the swimwear, the product itself, and allowing that creative sort of freedom to flow through into words and imagery and video and whatnot. And that's part of the bigger brand picture for me.
Right. And I guess there's that part of brand building, which you alluded to there, right? Because when you do good content, you're finding ways to engage with the audience and build them, versus just saying, "Hey, I've got something to sell." So obviously they get to know you, and then maybe they feel comfortable with trusting you with making their next swimwear purchase.
Yeah, correct. I mean, it's one, sales is obviously important. I mean, that's what we're here for. We want to make money, but I think it's beyond that as well. We've started to really build a community and foster a community that everybody's starting to talk. A lot of people know each other on social media, and we have different networks and outlets where people have these conversations. And it's a place that people can sort of gather and talk and whatnot. So it's much more than just sales. I mean, once this pandemic is over and we're sort of out of the woods and into the light, that's having these times now where it is this sort of community based place, whether it is content and whatnot. It's a memory. You're sort of burning your brand in people's brains to visit and come back to and think, what, I actually really had fun. I really enjoyed that content. They're not just a sales heavy online store. They're actually got a lot more to offer than that. And I think that's what people really resonate with.